And this podcast is brought to you by the Repost Network. Repost Network. Monetize your SoundCloud content. Sign up today at repostnetwork.com. This is the power of pro wrestling. A podcast by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. And welcome to the special prediction show for Bound for Glory 2016 for the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Robert Red.
And I'm Chris Honigan. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. All I can say is Bound for Glory is this Sunday. Yes, it'll be available on all the major carriers and whatnot, but also it'll be available, most importantly, on pay-per-view live this Sunday from Orlando, Florida's Impact Zone. Let's not waste any time. We know it's going to be a good show. Let's get on down to it, shall we? Former friends turned bitter enemies is what we're going to start with. Mike Bennett, Moose. Who you got?
Well, I'm going to let you make your picks on this one. I'm doing this special prediction show for you since I've not been really keeping up with Impact Wrestling. Well, but like you mentioned, they do have a dynamic here because if you have watched Ring of Honor, both of them have come from Ring of Honor.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you have an interesting dynamic here. Or you have Moose, who's still relatively new to the business. I'm not for sure about Mike Bennett.
Yeah, Bennett's been in the business longer than Moose.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have relatively new youngcomers. You had Mike Bennett debut on the January 4th Impact this year, and then he brought in Moose with them to kind of help him out. And now you've kind of got this dynamic where they're at each other now. So what do you think about this match, and who do you got for this one?
Well, I think this is a little deal that ended up exploding over the TNA World's Heavyweight Championship is what this situation was all about. And like you said, it was Bennett who brought Moose into TNA, believe it or not. But the dynamic characteristic here is Mike Bennett ended up with a world title shot against Lashley. Well, he was trying to summon the assistance of Moose to help him, and it backfired on him. No pipe, no weapon, and as a result, Lashley retained his title over Bennett, and from that point forward, it has been hot and heavy between the two. So it'll be interesting Sunday. I got Moose. That's my pick. What
okay. I guess if I want to make a pick here, I wouldn't necessarily be against Moose. He does have the power on his stamina, but I just think maybe Bennett, because he's a bigger star and has a little more experience factor, and Maria could play a part in this. I know she has a match later on in the night defending the Knockouts title, but I could see Maria maybe playing a part in this. So that's what I'm saying. If I have to pick, I might go Mike Bennett on this one.
Probably for the Braves, Bennett could edge this one out. But I say Moose will use his power. Let's really get to, I guess we'll go ahead and get to it right here, right now. Bound for Gold. It is the return of the Bound for Gold series, with the winner getting a shot at any championship anytime he wants. He can cash in anytime. Tyrus, Robbie E., Barrett Dex, Jesse Goddard, Grotto, Rostar Spud, Braxton Sutter, Shira, Eli Drake.
No, you got to say his name right.
Eli Drake.
Don't be a dummy. Yeah.
Yeah, that will make me a dummy. Yeah. And question mark. Due to all the dynamics in this deal, who do you see winning this one and why?
Well, what I really would like to see from this match is what I like to see from WWE Money in the Bank and stuff like that. Someone who's been maybe stuck in the mid-card or something like that, who's not really broke out to the forefront to be a main eventer to win that. And that's what I like of these kind of matches. Like, I'm glad that they have the return for Bound for Glory, because that adds something more to the spectacle, because I like Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania. So I want something
it's their big money
to feel like it is larger than life. This show, I want it to feel more special than just a normal show. Kind of like WrestleMania, it's just the grandeur of the show. So I'm glad that they've added this Bound for Gold match for the second year. So I like that dynamic. From all the choices that are put out there, it's very hard to pick. I would love to see Eli Drake. Or I should say Eli Drake.
Don't be a dummy.
Yeah, I don't want to be a dummy. So, I mean, and I'm going to pull for Eli Drake. I don't know if realistically he's going to win the match, but I'm going to go Eli Drake for this one.
Well, Tyrus won it last year, and Bound for Glory last year really delivered, in my opinion. I loved it. I love Bound for Glory. And even when they debuted the concept of the Bound for Gold match at last year's Bound for Glory, that really put a whole lot of entry. And I'll be honest with you, I did not see Tyrus winning coming. I didn't see it coming.
Oh, I did. I knew it was coming a mile away, because with EC3 being the champion, Tyrus being his confidant, I was like, I know where this is going. So that's what I'm saying. It was easier for me to predict last year than it is really this year, because it's kind of hard to say where they may go with this one.
But if I really have to pick a choice, I think I may go with you on this one. I think I may go Eli Drake. Or if I say Eli Drake winning this one. I have huge questions concerning that question mark there. And you'll see that question mark come into full fruition this Sunday. Well, let's really, before we get to our championship matches, let's go ahead and talk about the arrival of Cody Rhodes for all those non-believers. How much of an impact will this have on TNA? Due to the fact that he will be at Final Battle coming up in December on pay-per-view.
See, that's what makes this a very interesting point right here. If TNA's still around come Final Battle and stuff like that, it's going to be very interesting. Yes. And you're going to have your first star work TNA, a major TNA event, and a major Ring of Honor event at the same time. That's 2 pay-per-views. Now, granted, back in the early days of TNA, you'd have guys like Styles and Daniels and stuff like that who really kind of started in Ring of Honor, who transitioned to TNA, kind of work shows, but you didn't really see them being on a major TNA show and then working a major Ring of Honor show. So This is really monumental on that. And my question to you is, do you think this really is a rebirth for TNA? If TNA is not bought, do you feel this is a resurgence for TNA? Because you've had Cody, who's coming in, you've had Drew Galloway, you got Brandy, you've got all these great stars. Do you feel this is a revitalization of TNA to their roster with all these guys?
I think so, and I'll agree with that point of TNA or ROH for Cody Rhodes, and I'll one up you here. Think about the 2 events that he'll be debuting. Final Battle, that's our Ring of Honor's pay-per-view in December. And this Sunday, Bound for Glory. That is 2 huge money makers for both those companies. I say he makes a big impact.
Pun intended or no pun intended there?
No pun intended. I say he'll make a big splash and a big impact. And I say that could open up doors for more going forward. That's what I think. Now, let's get on to Gail Kim.
Okay.
Induction into the TNA Hall of Fame. What do you think?
Well, originally when we talked about this earlier in the Power Pro Wrestling podcast earlier this year, I asked if AJ Styles was going to be the nominee for this year, and it made a lot of sense for Styles to be the nominee and stuff like that. But for Gail Kim to be the nominee, she's been with TNA a very long time. She
2007.
She's a veteran of the business.
Sorry, 2006. Sorry.
Yeah, she's a veteran of the business. So I guess it kind of makes sense to put Gail Kim in the Hall of Fame, considering and you don't have a lot of big names there per se that would fit that are Hall of Fame worthy status. You've already put the Stings, the Kurt Angles, the Dudley Boys, the Jarrett last year. So I mean, you really covered all your bases in the Hall of Fame. So who do you? Yeah, the big names. Who do you really have left there? So I mean, Gail Kim, I guess, would be a good option to put in the Hall of Fame. And I mean, she's going to be your first woman or female nominee for the Hall of Fame. So it's just an interesting dynamic and breakthrough. So I mean, I like the concept that she's going in the Hall of Fame. And I mean, actually getting to meet her and having her autograph is great. And I mean,
such a genuine person.
I'm personally a fan of Gail Kim because she is skilled in the ring. And plus, I have to like her because her husband's name's Robert. So I mean, I've got to like her.
So is yours.
So I like Gail Kim, and she's very talented in the ring. So
very down to earth person. When we met her that day, along with Madness here at Jonesboro, let's be honest. Such a sweet-hearted, kind-hearted person. Bottom line, and Gail Kim going in. Especially, right? She hasn't even retired yet. I mean, really think this through. There are guys that are in the TNA Hall of Fame that have not retired yet. This will be another one. But if you've been watching Impact on Pop, or if you've been going up to ImpactWrestling.com and you've been seeing the whole video of Gail Kim going in, oh, those stats do not lie. Winning percentages and all, those stats don't lie. Gail Kim's the trendsetter. First ever Knockouts champion. And that's going to lead us up to this prediction right here. Knockouts title on the line. Maria, Gail Kim. Can she make it number 6 Sunday?
Well, I would like to see her make number 6, and it would be a good conclusion to this story. Kind of the way Maria Kanellis has won the title is kind of sneaky and underhanded because for the last several months,
Allie laid down.
Yeah, well, yeah, you had Sienna be pretty much a dominant Knockouts champion, and then you went from, like you mentioned, Allie winning the title.
Unheard of, unprecedented.
Yeah, and then Allie just pretty much laying down and letting Maria become the champion is just it's just sickening. So it would be a good feel-good story. You got Gail Kim going in the Hall of Fame, and then having her
winning the title on top of it.
Yeah, winning the title on top of it. It would be a good the end to a feel-good story for the weekend. And TNA really needs a good feel-good story right now, considering all the circumstances that are going behind the scenes that are not involved in the wrestling. So definitely, I see Gail Kim winning. That they need to do that.
I see Gail Kim winning hands down. And the crazy thing is, the thing that's really going to overshot all of this, and really going to overshadow all of this, other than Gail Kim going into the Hall of Fame and Gail Kim winning the championship, would be Allie. That's the X factor right there. Allie. Gail Kim's my pick. And since we're in the championship scene, surprisingly enough, no news concerning the X Division title. But that could change. That's why we're going right to the finals of the Impact Grand Championship.
Why not the tag titles? Why not talk about the Great War?
Hey, that's close to the main event.
Okay.
Grand Championship. Aaron Rex, Drew Galloway. This is the finals. Interesting concept here with the Grand Championship, almost like a little modified throwback to combination of World of Sport and the rules of Ring of Honor's per championship back in the day. Aaron Rex, Galloway. Who you got?
Well, I mean, that's what's interesting about this one. And Aaron Rex is another guy, the former Damien Sandow, another resurgence to TNA's locker room. So, I mean, and as much, you'd have the feel-good story of Aaron Rex, the debut, kind of like Christian, and very quickly when he came to TNA, won the NWA title, having Aaron Rex win this title would be good. But you have the more established Galloway there,
who's been there.
Who's been there a while. So I'm going to pick Drew Galloway. Just for the simple fact that he's the veteran. Now, it won't surprise me if Aaron Rex wins it, and that's the way they want to go with the title. But I'm going to say Drew Galloway on this one.
To me, this is too tough to call. Based off the physicality that I've actually saw in Aaron Rex. We already know what Galloway can bring, especially since he came to TNA last year. We know what he can bring to the table as far as physicality, as far as brutal and everything is concerned. We know what he can bring. I really had my eye on Aaron Rex because I really wanted to see if he was still stuck in that old mindset that he was in WWE, or is he really going to transfer away from it? Well, that match with Trevor Lee in the first round opened my eyes wide, especially when he unleashed his brand new finisher. And thank goodness it's not the full Nelson Slam. When he unleashed that brand new finisher of his, I was like, okay, this will be physical by a 51-49 ratio. I may go slightly towards Aaron Rex, but I'm not discounting Drew Galloway at all. You ready for the double of our main events?
Okay, let's get to it.
Let's get to what you just talked about. To me, storyline of the year in wrestling, bar none. The Great War for the TNA World Tag Team titles. Decay, Hardys.
Decay or delete, as we like to say.
That's right. That's what the Great War is. Who you got walking out of Orlando, Florida as the tag team champions of the world? Who you got?
Well, I mean, I love this. This is, like you said, this has been TNA's most riveting storyline. Since the final deletion between Brother Nero and Broken Matt Hardy.
Obsolete delete. Oh,
yeah. So, I mean, just that, and then everything that Kurt tells from that, and then having the whole, delete or decay that happened a few weeks back, and going in for the tag team titles this Sunday for the Great War is just... This has been the most interesting thing of Impact in some time. It's really helped them in the ratings. And it's because
yes, it has.
Because the final deletion, I think, was probably one of their highest rated segments or impacts this year. So I'd like to see the Hardys win it just so they could probably get one more run if the company stays around long enough as the tag team champion. So I would like to see Brother Nero and Broken Matt Hardy winning the TNA tag titles one more time.
You know, I've discussed this with you off the air. And even when we just literally just sat down and just watched wrestling together, to me, you talk about the resurgence of TNA. I think this is the resurgence of the Hardys. This is the best work the Hardys have ever done. All due respect to TLC, all due respect to the Matt, Lita, Edge story, and all due respect to Jim Hardy's previous work in TNA. This right here is the best storyline, and I was told, even after looking at research, that literally the creative team at TNA literally gave the ball to them. They are rolling with it. Their T-shirts are the #1 sellers in TNA right now.
And I think that's why they've been so successful is that the writers have been hands off and let them be themselves. That's the key to success of getting older. It's allowing guys to get over, because a lot of times that's the complaint about Roman Reigns or these other guys is they're too scripted and too produced, and they don't allow them to be natural in themselves, and that's what hurts them. So
I agree.
Like that. And to go back with your point of the Hardys, is Matt Hardy has totally reinvented himself. So he could have easily rested on his laurels and did the same thing until the end of his career, but he took a risk, took a chance, and totally changed himself into this Broken Matt Hardy character, and it's worked to perfection to a T. So I mean, that's what's been so great about the final deletion, and in this whole delete or decay and everything he's been doing the past several months in TNA.
And plus, and if everybody really wants to see or really does not know how this came about in a ladder match to determine the #1 contenders for the TNA titles. The very next week on Impact, right after the Hardys won that ladder match and was guaranteed that title shot, the first shot was fired. And it wasn't fired by Decay. The first shot was fired by the Hardys, claiming that Rosemary and Decay were literally stalking and were after King Maxwell. That's what ignited this whole feud. And if you watch what happened this past Thursday, oh, wow. Genius, genius, genius. I got the Hardys barely. I got the Hardys winning, but I say to me this will be this is story of the year right here. Now, from that one to this one, based off the press conference that you saw on Impact on Pop, the TNA World Title is on the line. Based off what you saw previously on Impact Wrestling, the stipulation was named. The World Championship on the line. Lashley, EC3, no holds barred. Who you got?
Well, for this one, I mean, it's definitely going to be a very physical match. A no-holds-barred match is just, it's going to be a physical match. And you got Bobby Lashley, who's a two-sport athlete.
Currently right now.
Yeah, working MMA and working with TNA. So it's going to be physical. And then just EC3, or I should say EC3 on that one. It's going to be a very physical match. I don't know if this is going to be a third title reign for EC3 because Bobby Lashley has been a dominant champion and he showed his dominance as his past as champion. So it's going to be very hard for me to pick EC3 winning the title. I always like when you have your big event for the top title to change hands because to me it makes it a lot more interesting. Sometimes, like, I'll use WrestleMania 27. It was the right call to have Miz beat John Cena at WrestleMania 27, but it just made WrestleMania feel lackluster with the title not changing hands, but it's the right call. I really want to see EC3 win, but I have my doubts. I'm not saying that he couldn't beat Bobby Lashley. I just have my doubts that he's going to. So I may go with Bobby Lashley on this one.
The winning record that EC3 has over Bobby Lashley is unparalleled. When EC3 was the champion, and even when he was not the champion, he has beaten Bobby Lashley 3 times. 3! That's unheard of. Literally, on all 3 matches, I'll be honest with you. All 3 matches, I would have given the edge to Bobby Lashley. Hands down. But EC3 really stepped his game up. Big time. And the press conference told the whole story on who should win this Sunday's match. No holds barred. I say a vicious side of EC3 come out. I say EC3 may be the 3-time champ. I'm not discounting Lashley because the last time they fought, Lashley ended up pinning EC3 twice. Literally, he pinned him twice. So I cannot leave out Lashley. But the press conference told me that Lashley overpowered EC3, and now that tells me that EC3 is winning that title. And he will win it at Bound for Glory, which I will be watching. You will be watching. We hope the whole world will be watching live on pay-per-view. But don't you have another prediction show coming up, and it's called No Mercy?
Yes, we have next week. I'm going to be doing No Mercy prediction show. You may not be joining me next week for this one.
That's fine, because you know this podcast always include great guests.
Yeah,
always.
Well, for these prediction show, I'm going to try to open it up a little bit more to other people. So I'm going to try to get a first-time special guest. I'm going to make sure that happens before I officially announce it. Just stay tuned to my Twitter, which I'm going to plug. You can follow me on Twitter at Robert Red Jr. so you can keep up with the latest wrestling news about the podcast and other projects that I may have going on. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on there. SoundCloud, where you can listen to these prediction shows and past podcasts at soundcloud.com/PPWP. So you want to check that out. I'm on Instagram. I believe it's Robert Ray Jr. So pretty much across is Robert Ray Jr. Even the Patreon, to where if you want to financially support the podcast and my pro wrestling projects and everything I got going on, you can financially give to Patreon. There's going to hopefully be a lot of cool stuff coming up in the month of October that you want to check out. So be watching my Patreon for that.
You need to check it out, folks. You need to check it out.
So where can people find you on social media?
Social media, they will find me on Twitter, Chris Heineken 1. on Friday nights, you can actually come see me on Friday nights in Osceola, Arkansas at MCW, Mid-Southern Championship Wrestling at 1098 West Kaiser Street. It is right off of I-55. Folks, make the drive on Fridays. Excellent. We fight on Friday nights. It is an excellent 2-hour plus show you don't want to miss. I'm there every single Friday night. Osceola, Arkansas, 1098 West Kaiser Street, MCW, Mid-Southern Championship Wrestling. Hey, get to meet some stars of Wrestling with Death on that over there. Plus, Saturdays, I'm in OCW. I am in Hoxie at OCW, I should say. And I'm there, 609 Southeast Gibson. And, of course, we're right off of Trip 55, right when you go straight into Hoxie and Walnut Ridge area. So, please come on down, come check that out. And, hey, this podcast is not possible without your help and your support. Granted, we may say this ad nauseum, but we're going to say it again. We are not possible without your support. Support this podcast. It doesn't matter if I'm the guest. It doesn't matter if he's the host or whoever's the guest. Great insight. Great stuff. You will not be disappointed. All caps. You will not be disappointed with this podcast at all. And we would love to hear what you think. Hit us up at our social media deals.
Yeah, definitely we want to hit you up. And while you're hitting us up, check out, you mentioned OCW. You can check them out on YouTube on Sundays and Tuesdays.
At 11 o'clock Eastern.
All right, so, and also check out Repost Network. If you want to monetize your SoundCloud content like I do for the prediction show, the podcast that I do, check them out, repostnetwork.com. You can monetize your SoundCloud content. So a very special thank you goes out to them. They actually made the Backlash Prediction Show one of the most listened to show with their help and your guys' help. Well, we got a lot of listens too, so just keep up the good work, guys, and keep checking out this podcast. But this has been Robert Red.
And I'm Chris Heineken, and guess what? We will see you at the No Mercy Predictions.
Yeah, we'll see you at the next time for No Mercy Predictions.